Hello, and welcome to another episode of Total Wellness at the J with Todd Rockoff. I'm really pleased to be here today with my friend, my colleague, and a very inspiring director of theater dybbuk, Henne. We believe at the J that wellness is far more than diet and exercise. There are 15 elements that make up wellness, and amongst those is education and culture and peoplehood. And we're going to explore some of those elements as we work through a conversation about a really exciting time that we have coming up in the not too distant future here in Tucson. So, Aaron, I'd love to welcome you to the show. Aaron's bio will be in the show notes so that I encourage all of you to read it there so we can spend our time today talking about some exciting programming and dig in a little bit as to how this helps the community to be well.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with you. I really appreciate it.
We're really excited that at the back end of October 20th to the 26th, Theater Dybbuk will be here as an artist in residence with us. And the tentpole of that time will be on the 24th and 25th, where the show Dracula will be introduced, and we'll dig into that in a minute. But first, Aaron, tell us a little bit about Theater Dybbuk. Where does that come from? How long have you been doing this, and what's it all about?
Sure. So in 2011 is when I started Theater Dybbuk. I'm the founding artistic director, and the short version is longtime theater artist. I was creating work. I have particular tastes in how one creates work. And I started thinking about starting my own company that would really look at the issues in our world using heightened theatrical language. And based in Los Angeles, I looked around LA and noted that, Los Angeles has the second largest metropolitan Jewish population in the country, as I've heard. And I thought no one was quite doing work from a Jewish perspective that was exploring Jewish history, so forth, that I was wanting to engage with in an ongoing manner. And that is not a criticism of other work. Much of it's great. I was just looking for something in particular. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll start something and that will hopefully have some impact. And that's the brief. And little did I know that, we'd move from being a kind of like, I'm starting a theater company that explores Jewish history to a holistic arts and education organization that works nationally, that is working with partners, all over the country and beyond. So that's the brief. And I think it really comes from a belief that Jewish experience and Jewish history can really provide a unique entry point to understand our world, because we've been in so many places in different positions in society. And so we can see ourselves and thus hopefully also provide a vessel for seeing others too. And briefly, how the company works is we create large-scale theatrical works over the course of 1 to 3 years per project that we develop in-house. And and then those culminate and then tour. And we also do a lot of other programming that includes some one-off events that use scholarship in Jewish history and performance, but aren't like full productions, as well as a lot of educational work and services where we work with both Jewish nonprofit professionals, as well as people who work in educational fields in Jewish communities. And we facilitate experiences for them to learn theatrical techniques and storytelling techniques to best support their work.
That's really remarkable. And this isn't our first rodeo, if you'll allow the Tucson reference. With Theater Dybbuk, we've worked with you before, and we've worked with you in professional development, helping perfect the pitch sometimes for donors, and really inspiring work. So you're a lot more than just a theater company, and you really help people grow and learn and feel the inspiration. And we did that a couple years ago. You were on stage here at the J with a performance that you had done that was really quite meaningful. So I'm very excited for Dracula Annotated.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what's the inspiration for that particular show?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I'm going to go back to the show that's prior to Dracula Annotated to kind of help lead us in. We started developing this work, as I indicated, that really intersects with scholarship and research and those kinds of things. And so we did a work called The Merchant of Venice Annotated, where we combined Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice with its problematic Jewish money-lending figure Shylock with Elizabethan history and news from the last 5 years. And it was a way of really seeing our contemporary society through that text. And I got a taste for doing this annotated work. How do we actually take something and explode and explore it on stage? And as a company, we started searching for what could that next work be. And a couple things came up. First, we wanted it to be something that had large cultural impact. So something people would know, be familiar with, and actually maybe even love. Two, we wanted to find something that could speak to the ways in which covert and overt messaging that we may not even be fully aware of is present, right? Any piece of art we engage with is infused with the beliefs, prejudices, challenges, desires of its time period. And so we started looking for something that could also intersect with perhaps some problematic anti-Semitic and anti-immigrant prejudices and such from their time period. So after reflecting on all this, we landed on Dracula as a way to investigate those topics, because Dracula was written it was published, I should say, not written, but published in 1897. 1897 is a time of great migration from Eastern Europe by Jews to England, of course, and the US and Canada. And all I'll say without going into huge detail is Dracula is an Eastern European foreigner coming to suck the lifeblood of the British middle class who hoards gold and is, repelled by crucifixes and other Christian symbols and such. I'm not saying that it's purposely anti-Semitic, but there's a lot of coding that's present that we wanted to investigate and unpack. So on stage, the piece quite literally will combine text from the Dracula novel with a lot of Victorian era history and references, all at the same time, kind of colliding so that we can reflect on the ways in which we are receiving messages today that we may or may not even be aware of.
That's great. I mean, I think now that is a timely topic. Unfortunately, in some ways, anti-Semitism is an enduring topic. And I'm hoping that as the audience experiences this, it can open people's eyes, raise awareness, start dialogue, and create better understanding amongst people. Because I think being in dialogue leads to the ability to grow and understand in a very different way. I want to pause for a minute on Dracula Annotated in the specific work of Theater Dybbuk, but talk about the power of theater itself and why would what are the benefits of a young person, a high school student, a middle-aged person getting involved in being on stage? What does that do for one's self-esteem, a feeling of self-worth? I love going to the theater, but I'm not an on-stage person per se, although one would argue that maybe I am. But tell me and tell those that are watching why this is such an important art form.
So I think that theater is an important art form for wellness in a variety of ways, and for all the topics you brought up around esteem, around belonging, right? I could name a number of them. I'll kind of go through them briefly as I see them. One is not just the on the stage, but literally the why engage with theater from the outside, right? Of watching it, is that part of what's happening is you are sharing space with somebody else, with a variety of other people, I should say, while something live is happening in front of you that we all have to be a part of in a way. The theater doesn't happen unless there's a community around it bearing witness to it. And Also, because the show is happening real time in front of you, it is impacted by the energy in the room and the responses. So actually, there's a kind of communal responsibility that I think people feel when they go to the theater that I think hopefully breeds a sense of togetherness, encourages and fosters a sense of caring for your fellow humans. So I think just purely from that level. In terms of being involved with the creation of theater and presenting of theater, I think there's a number of things. One is it is what I would call a project-based community, meaning if you are part of making theater, you are there because you are creating something with other people. And what that means is it's not based on, are you liked, are you not liked, do you have these particular ways in? You are there because you are joining in creating with others, and that is what binds us together. And so I think one is that it's so many are welcome, because the variety of skills and the variety of ways in. I mean, there's the people on stage, there's the people behind the scenes, there's the stage managers, there's the designers, there's the people running things. We are all there together, creating together. And so you can speak to a lot of theater kids. I was a theater kid. Like, where I found my people and where I felt welcome was in the theater. Even if I sometimes, at school or other places felt not a part of, I knew that I could go to this place and create with others and be trusted to create with others, even as a young person. So that's number two, trust. That part of getting up on that stage is somebody is saying to you, I trust you. You can do it. Even if you have uncertainty, even if you're afraid, you're going to get up there and you're going to try. And the audience will cheer you on and they will be there supporting you. It's a real sense of knowing, of learning I'm okay, and that I deserve to be in the spotlight, even if I feel like I don't belong, right? I also think my favorite thing about theater for a sense of wellness and a sense of esteem building is the fact that it should go poorly before it goes well. That I try to live my life as though I am always operating in rehearsal, which is rehearsal is the place where you get it wrong before you get it right. You spend hours and hours trying things on, doing this, doing that, going, oh, that's not quite it. Let's try something else. And anyone who arrives to rehearsal thinking out of the gate, it's supposed to be as it is in the final version, is going to have a hard time, because it really shouldn't be. If we have a 4-hour rehearsal, we're lucky if we get through 3 to 5 pages of staging. 3 to 5 pages on stage is only 5, 10, 15 minutes max, but it can take us 4 hours to get through staging that, because we're trying things. We're not getting it quite as we want it. For me, that is the biggest part, is learning not only it's okay if you don't exactly get it right, it's actually as it should be. Life is iterative. Life is meant to be tried and not work out and try something else and grow from there. So that to me is, I think, one of the biggest things that theater gives people, is a sense of allowing it to be imperfect.
And I think that there's a subtext to what you just said, which is it's also highly collaborative. Yes. And that when done right, like anything in life, when we work together, we gain strength and perspective. And that's so important. So the fact that it's collaborative, and if you build anything today, you have to iterate it and have the patience to allow it to find its form. And I think theater at the core teaches us that. And I think sometimes people may stay away because they only see the perfect product. But if you look behind the curtain, that's really the magic, because the process matters as much as the product.
Exactly. So, I fully agree. And I'm really glad you brought up collaboration. Theater does not exist without all the players working together in harmony, and sometimes not in harmony, trying to figure out where that harmony lives. But there is an understanding that we are doing this together and that we need each other to make it happen. So I think you are right. That is fundamental to that learning.
So I think that an artist in residence week features all of those different elements. It's not just the 2 days of the stage performance. It's actually this very rich and involved collaboration with our community. Can you talk a little bit about some of the programming that you'll do out in the community as we animate our own week of residency?
Absolutely. So we're going to be doing a few different things that, again, as you pointed out, allows different ways in depending on where people's interests are and where they want to spend their time. So we're going to be doing a masterclass called Heritage, History, and Humanity that is about how does one dive into one's own heritage, tradition, experience, however you want to put it, to create artistic work. And that is both for people who may identify as theater artists and creators in those ways, and people who just want a chance to dive in and have an experience and write some things and get on their feet and learn. So that's going to be really fun. And I think I've had the great experience of watching participants actually genuinely begin projects that then find their full life later on. In addition, we're going to be doing an event called One Community, Many Stories, which is a really unique experience where we do a brief writing workshop for those in attendance, centered around people having a chance to write their own stories of their own experiences. We then collect those stories, and an hour to an hour and a half later, our team of actors comes out and actually reads selections of those stories back to the audience. So they get to hear their own stories just created, read back to them. And how it's designed, I should mention, is that all the pieces being read are read anonymously. So it allows for a vulnerability. Nobody has to worry, oh, I put that feels private, but I actually do want it out in the world. We purposely read them anonymously because also then the audience doesn't know who wrote it. It's just an experience of your community. So that's a really beautiful kind of magical experience. And it gives people both a chance to learn some writing techniques, to actually do some on the ground work, and also to have a performance that is based around their own experience. So there's that. In addition, the culmination of the week is going to be a kind of wraparound experience where we get to talk and we get to hear from the audience, whoever came throughout the week, and we get to share our experience of being in Tucson and learning from the people who came, and because it's still new work and we're trying new things, and so we're going to get to hear and learn from the experience of those in the community. So that's just a sample of some of what we'll be doing.
It's going to be such a rich week, and I think, in our tradition, we mark time. And we're going to be coming, as you arrive, finishing the Chagim. We're going to be done with Simchat Torah. We will have rolled it back so that we can start anew. And we'll start anew with this rolling world premiere of Dracula Annotated, and these classes to allow us, with a clean slate that we have gotten as a people, having gone through the process of the Chagim, to come together with a blank page. And we're going to write our own story together. So that's a gift that you're giving us, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. I feel privileged and honored to be able to not just facilitate it, and to be a part of it. May I, because you mentioned rolling world premiere, if I may, I want to kind of share what that means, because that's, for some people, that will be an unfamiliar term, and I think it's worth giving it a little attention. So, a rolling world premiere is a term that indicates that a presentation of the show is still new. It's not like you're seeing a show that opened and had its long run somewhere, and now it's coming for a couple nights to your city. Those are great. I was at one last night, right? However, what this is that the show we are bringing, Dracula Annotated, to Tucson, will have just opened in Los Angeles and had a limited run. It's still new. We're still going to probably be making small changes and learning things, because that's how new shows are. New plays are often evolving. And so being in Tucson gives us a chance to continue to both premiere it and share a brand new work, but also to keep learning about how it's operating and what needs to shift. So actually, the audience in Tucson is going to be a fundamental part of this growth of this new work. And so we're really grateful to be able to share it in that way and have the audience participate in that manner.
That's great. And you shared with me when we were talking the other day that one of the things with the audience is that we give them an opportunity to help unpack it afterwards, and talk with the actors and to talk amongst themselves. which I think
Absolutely.
is really important. I think people will have a lot of questions.
Yeah, after each show, we will certainly really take the time to discuss, hear people's thoughts, questions, share our experience. I think that's such an important part of this. Sometimes it's important to just leave people wherever they are. And I think there's a value to that. And I think especially with a rolling world premiere, there's value in giving people a chance and a space to unpack together, not just on their own. So I'm excited about that too.
So some of the folks that are listening and watching, and hopefully getting excited about what they can experience, may be wondering, where does the name dybbuk come from? So share that story, because I think it gives some ongoing context
Yes.
to this great organization that you founded.
Thank you. So a dybbuk, I will say for those, there are some in the audience who may know, and I've had this experience, just a funny thing where some people who know what it is right away are like, should I be scared? Is this okay? Because a dybbuk is a figure in Jewish folklore who is a spirit, often considered somebody who has died, who possesses somebody else, takes over their body, and is often needs to be exorcised. Often is thought of as a malevolent spirit, to be frank. That is not why we chose it, but I will I will share with you. We chose the name for a variety of reasons. I mean, one is I said that wasn't why we chose it, although there's an element of it, which is that we did want to acknowledge to people that part of what makes our tradition rich and deep is that there are elements that are challenging, there are elements that are dark, there are elements that are light, there are all of it. And so by actually naming our company something that has what in some circles is considered a more challenging kind of feeling was strategic. It spoke to that. Two, our first show ever was a show called Cave, A Dance for Lilith that dove into Lilith folklore and Hebrew goddess mythology. And so we wanted to keep pulling from folklore and that. Three, there's a lot of reasons why we chose it, so I will share. Three is that it's a reference to what is considered one of the most important Yiddish plays, and the dybbuk or a dybbuk that has had great influence on Jewish and Yiddish and world theater. So there's that. Four, to be honest, we're a company that also believes in the value of Jewish perspectives, Jewish stories in dialogue with people from all walks of life, Jewish and not. By naming our company Theater Dybbuk, it allows people to say, what does that mean? Tell me about your company, as opposed to if we'd said, the Jewish Theater Company of Southern California or something like that. While that has value, it feels exclusive instead of maybe inclusive in a certain way. That we wanted to say this is an invitation to all, even if that invitation is mysterious. It causes a conversation. So there were a variety of reasons that name was chosen that hopefully people will feel when they come to the work and have a sense of.
Well, I think if we tie two parts of our show together, you talked about theater in a variety of different ways as welcoming people in and bringing people into a conversation and into an experience. And I think, for me as a theater fan, every time you go to a show is a once in a lifetime unique experience, because that same show, while it may be up tomorrow, may not be exactly the same as what I got to see today. And that is the beauty of the art and the beauty of the collaboration that I think the actors use in playing off one another. You're about to experience a once in a lifetime, never to be had again. It's not going to be recorded. This is it. And what happens the first day may not be exactly the same, because you'll tinker with it a little bit. And I think that's really miraculous. So we invite people in. We invite people in to be a part of the week of learning, the artists in residence. We invite people to be in the audience and be part of the conversation for Dracula Annotated. And we invite people to continue to draw inspiration from creativity. At the J, I always deeply, deeply believe that the fact that we have an art gallery and invite theater and a sculpture garden, and we have an art studio where we're doing clay, creativity is inspiring. It's personally inspiring. to get into your creative self, and then it's externally inspiring. And people shouldn't be afraid to express themselves on stage or to express themselves artistically, because it's helping you really complete yourself, and then helping the world to see you in different ways than you may present when they just look at you without your art.
Yeah, I agree. And I also, in dialogue with that, I think also that part of the creation of art is, of any kind, is a profoundly hopeful act, in that it is a way of saying, I am worthy, and it is worthy to contribute to the great body of experience of this world. And I often say, I gave up a long time ago, and this sounds cynical, and I don't mean it that way, on thinking that, my art will change the world, right? But what it may do is help move a centimeter of a centimeter of a centimeter our world forward in some way. And I think that that's in dialogue with what you were saying of, like, our sense of well-being can be encouraged by creation, by trusting that I have something to add, and that something to add may help not just myself, but somebody else as well, in ways that I may not even be aware of or can completely measure. So I think it's a really profoundly hopeful act to both create art and to engage with it.
I think that's right. And you don't sound cynical. It's actually, I think, rabbinic, right? It's not our job to complete the work, but we can't desist from starting. So we add our piece, our tile to the mosaic, and then the next person will add one more. And as long as we continue to aspire forwards, we're a link in that chain that will make the world a better place. And art and the theater are enormous contributors to that in so many ways. I am looking forward. I'm here with Erin Henne from Theater Dybbuk, and looking forward in a few short weeks to having you back in Tucson for an artist in residency, for a chance for our community to experience the rolling world premiere of Dracula Annotated. People can go to our website, tucsonjcc.org, to buy tickets and to learn a little bit more. We encourage you to do that. And we encourage you to engage in one or all of the aspects of this really remarkable week that we're putting together. And while I have the honor of sitting with you today and to call you a friend, I want to acknowledge our Arts and Culture Director, Chloe Luce, who's really on our end pulling this all together, and I know is your partner in this program. So I want to thank her for her remarkable work, and Jen Selko, our Senior Director of Jewish Life and Engagement here at the J. Erin, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for spending this time. And
I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to your team as well, as you just mentioned, because you're really remarkable partners and collaborators. And I'm really excited to have Theater Dybbuk both continue our partnership and to grow it in this manner. So much appreciated.
Well, thank you very much. Again, this was Total Wellness at the J, and it's been my pleasure to sit here with Erin Henne. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day.